I think we're on. What's up, everybody? Wednesday night. I got 4 people viewing. Let's see what we can get up to. Who's on? Who's around? So I literally just made it on at the nick of time. I've been flying all day long to Lake Charles, Louisiana, and literally we were down checking in a hotel room, and I had it was 7:51 here because it's 8 o'clock here, 9 o'clock on the East Coast, and I ran up and set everything up and did everything I could as quick as I could. And it's funny, this is going to irritate me the whole time. The air conditioner blowing the wind of the thing. Geez, I don't even know. All day long I thought I would think of topics while we flew all day long, and I don't even know what I would what I would talk about today. I have a bunch of things on my mind, but hit that like button, please. Hit the subscribe button. Try to get a couple more viewers on my list. I hope everybody's doing well this week. What would we chat about today? What I have a few things on my mind, and I want to wait till a few more people join before I start talking about some really strange stuff that is on my mind this week. Sarah, hello. 7. It's the last minute too, and the first thing that I was curious is we landed here in Lake Charles, and I've been to here in Lake Charles a million times. We've played a casino here and a bunch of different things, but we landed where the sun was kind of setting and stuff. And I'd be curious if, hey Jessica, I'd be curious if me and Dean and Mary and Norman were all riding in a car, and we all had the same sense of a different. Sometimes it's like a different time and place because we all live in such a crazy metropolitan area that is always busy, and sometimes you go to different areas that time stands still. Hello, Rich. Which Rich, by the way? I'm so bad when I just see names. But down here in the South, when the sun sets and it's so calm and so quiet and so peaceful, it's interesting, right? But there were, I don't know if you guys have ever seen. It's an amazing movie, but it's not a fun movie. This movie called Time to Kill with Sandra Bullock and Matthew McConaughey and Samuel Jackson, and it was shot down here in the South. Hey, Roxanne, and some of the scenes that they used, the night scenes and the sunsetting scenes and stuff, feel just like. We all talked about it in the car the way here. It felt just like that, and it also felt like Forrest Gump, like some of this, a lot of those scenes in the movies when they're filming in the South, they capture that feeling of the sun setting in the South, and on our way here to the airport, it felt just like every one of those things you'd ever seen. And it was just so calm and so peaceful, and even though that movie A View to Kill is about a horrible situation, it's an incredibly powerful movie. But just the cinematography, they capture that. I feel like you capture the southern atmosphere better than you capture the northern stuff. Nothing I've ever seen ever feels just like Virginia or DC when they're filming movies and stuff. What's up, Robert and Teresa? When it says Robert and Teresa, is it both of you guys? I don't know. I don't know. So, I'm just going to say this and get it over with. I'm not going to turn this political by any means, but it was amazing to see what happened with the tariffs today. It's an interesting thing. I've talked to a few people about it, and it's interesting the tariff thing, because the tariff thing is not interesting. But the certain people's point of views is is interesting. We're tariffed. This is, whether what Trump's doing is wrong or right, it's a reaction to an action that's already in place. And so everyone has always tariffed us. Why are we not allowed to tariff them? It's an interesting thing to me. The concept of where the anger is placed. Again, I don't know if it's the right thing to do, but why are you not mad at the people that have tariffed us, right? I don't know if anything's the right thing to do. I don't agree with how anything's being handled anymore, but the tariff's a weird question, and with the stock market crashing and stuff like that, so that's. The stock market crashing is only a problem, and I watch it like a hawk. I don't have any money in it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. We have 20 people watching. Please subscribe and hit the like button, please. I've had money in it. Sometimes I take money out, blah, 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 blah. But if you're in it for the long game, the crash isn't that big of a deal, right? And if anyone had any money last week to put it in it, they would have almost tripled their money today if they put it at the right time. So it's a balance depending on what you want out of it and what you see out of it. But it's also terrifying. Watching it crash is terrifying. And I think about the people that do have money in it. Brett's got millions of dollars in the stock market. He plays that game like he's a Wall Street tycoon, to be honest with you. Not that he's not rich from the music and the reality TV show, but his money in the stock market is enormous. So everything's so polar. I think that's what I went camping this weekend, and it was so quiet, and I had such a long time to think and quiet about things, and it's so weird. It's just so weird how polarizing everything is, and everybody's angry at I don't know. Everybody's angry, and everyone knows how I feel. I think the current leader is a buffoon and an idiot, and but my biggest problem is what I consider the hypocrisy of the left is just so amazing. Both sides make me insane, but it's just an interesting what everyone thinks everything means, and I don't know that any of us know anything. I think that's my point. Everything is so polarizing, so controversial. There's so much anger, and maybe there's a bigger plan. Not Trump has a bigger plan. He's not telling any of us about. None of that. But maybe there's just something. Maybe there's something else, and maybe, like Jessica's saying, I've always said there's other people behind the strings, and divided we fall. Divided we fall is exactly it. And the ability to make us hate each other is intense right now. And it's scary to me. I actually, there's all the protesting and stuff going on this weekend, and the numbers are fascinating, and but I got nervous because I think that the current administration would love to pull martial law, but it was so I went way out in the Shenandoah Valley this weekend, and I actually made my kids screenshot where I was and understand how to get there, because in my brain I played this whole apocalyptic thing in the United States, and the cell towers were going to go down, and there was going to be martial law, and the protests were going to turn violent, and thank God it didn't. Thank God none of that happened. But in my brain, you guys know, I went there, and I'm glad it didn't happen. But I literally hid out in the woods thinking that it was going to all start this weekend. the number of the protesters was amazing and fascinating. I know several people that were at those protests, and I'm so supportive of, you guys know, I'm so supportive of people standing up and speaking their mind and all that stuff. But I also ask this question all the time: what does the protest do other than feed your own ego that you did so? I said this on someone's message board the other day, and it might be the wrong opinion, but protesting is similar to cheering on your football team or cheering on your favorite band. It shows the support. It's ego feeding for the team or the performer, but it doesn't make the team actually play any better, and it doesn't make the band perform any better. So if there's, I believe in change. You guys know this. I want revolution, man. I want it. So what do you do other than protest to make change without it becoming violent? How do you do that? And it's funny as I say all this, and I'm knocking protesting, so to speak. All day long, the only thing I could focus on is next week I'm going to get a sign about disclosure and the UAP and extraterrestrial disclosure situation, and I'm going to go out in front of the White House by myself and carry a protest sign. I've never done that, and that's what's big and important to me. And I'm going to go all by myself and see what that feels like. And which is funny because, as I've told you before, I subscribe to Whitley Strieber's theory that disclosure will come from the experiencers, not the government. But it's on my mind. It's something I do. It's something it's a life I live. So if I get a few hours next week, you guys know I live 20 miles from the White House, so why not get a little sign and go up there and hold it up and and protest for disclosure out in front of the White House. As stupid as that sounds, I think it'll be funny. I'll probably get a funny picture with a lot of reaction. Who knows? Camping and getting off the grid is so rewarding and refreshing. To not have a cell phone signal is breathing, right? Good for it. What is good for it, Jessica? And how are you healing up? There you go. Candace, how have you been? Even though I was just texting you 2 minutes ago, but how have you been? You haven't been on for a couple of weeks. I'm glad you're here. So now that we have about 22 people watching, I'd love to know who everyone is. If everyone could just say hi in the chat room so I know who's watching. I'm going to go... I'm going to tell this very slowly and very concisely. And I'm going to start from the very origins of this and go to something super strange that happened. What's up, Rick? Super strange that happened. I have a friend who is a light worker and healer in Manassas, who may be on the chat right now. And she has a friend and who has spiritual, the word's not powers. And I'm gonna leave their names anonymous, even though they're watching. But I spent about 2 hours talking to both of them yesterday, and it rocked me to my fucking bones, and I haven't been able to focus on anything since. But the story is long. It'll probably take the whole hour, and I want to be very concise. Me, Chad, and Dean played in Boston or in Worcester last weekend, and they came to that show. The one friend I've only recently met and only talked to her a couple times, and the other person I've never met in my life. However, they're both connected to a friend of mine that I've known since the first day of school in elementary school. Hey, Julie, you might want to listen to this. If you've been watching the show, you know that 2 weeks ago I had a very strange spiritual religious moment happening right here in front of you guys. So let me take this back. A lot of you guys know me as a singer. What you may not know is how I became a singer and how late in my life I did this. So I'd always been a songwriter and a guitar player, and I got my first record deal at 25 years old with my band Some Odd Reason. I was not the singer, and I was so bad of a singer that I wasn't even allowed to have a mic. Like, the joke was, you can't have a mic. And then in Some Odd Reason, halfway through Some Odd Reason, that singer quit. While we were on tour supporting our first album, everything was going great. You've all heard this part of the story before, but I'm tying it into how I became a singer. I replaced that singer with a friend of mine that was, and still is, more than a friend, a fucking brother. Someone I would take a bullet for and someone I would die for. An incredible vocalist, an incredible songwriter. But the band turned into something else. The songs didn't sound the same. Nothing was the same. What's up, Joanne? And then one day, my record label and my lawyer called me to New York by myself. I knew this wasn't good. And they just said they don't like what the band had become. You have two choices. You get the old guy back, or you learn to sing and sing these songs that you write. And I literally looked at them and said, you guys are fucking me. You know I can't sing. To which they said, and this was the 90s, remember, to which they said, Kurt Cobain can't sing either, but the passion for his own lyrics, him singing his own songs, sells the music on a different level, and we believe that that is what you can do. You can learn to sing well enough that you will get your emotion across in the songs that you write, and it will be more genuine. So for 9 months, I took vocal lessons in New York City on Broadway from a guy named Don Lawrence. Don's father was a vocal teacher on Broadway. Don's son is now a vocal teacher on Broadway. And Don had taught John Bon Jovi, Dee Snider, Sebastian Bach, Tony Harnell, Mick Jagger, makes someone I couldn't, on and on and on. But obviously, when I was looking for vocal coaches, it was the Bon Jovi connection that said, that's the guy, I'm going with this guy, and that's it. So I spent 9 months with this guy. And for as much support as maybe all of you guys have seen me with, and if my buddy Jeff is watching, Jeff would remember all of this. Anyone that's watching that's from my high school or post-high school days will remember all this. I did not have the support at all to sing by any of my peers, by any of my friends. Not one of them thought I could do it, and they were very vocal about it. You know, this is out of control. You're stupid. You can't sing. It's just not ever going to happen. Even Chuck, every single person. It was brutal. My own family, and here I am in my 25th year, where most people usually quit the music industry. 25 is that age where you go, up. This didn't work, you know. And I was on my way to having Gavin, and I had to support my family. So not only could I not sing, but once I studied then I had to hit the ground running. I didn't have a year to sit in the basement and practice a set, so I just started playing. I was just started doing gigs, and it was terrible, and I knew it was terrible. But my friends would come out anyway, and it was kind of like I don't think you can do this. I don't think you should do this. A lot of them were like, man, you're a fucking guitar player. That's what you've been your whole life. Why are you wasting your time with this? But they came out and they would support me, and I started doing local Wednesday gigs at Sully's, which was where my band Some Odd Reason had always played. I did local gigs at this place called the Golden Phoenix that I've told you guys about, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And I just went from never singing in my life to singing 3 sets a night. And I had enough musical knowledge and enough live experience touring since high school to get through it. But I knew how bad I was. And sometimes I was on the stage in tears, man, in tears. But something in me told me I had to do this. I think eventually I became pretty good at it. A lot of people pay to hear me sing now. I'll never be Mark Cohen, the guy that sings Walking in Memphis, but I hold my own. But I think what you guys may not know is I don't get stage fright, never have. I get up there and it's a job, and whether I think I'm doing good or don't have to do good, I do it. As a guitar player, I'm overly confident. I always say, as arrogant as this sounds, after playing guitar for 47 years, I'm one of my favorite guitar players. If I'm not, after 47 years, what the fuck did I do wrong? Because I know how to play the guitar. I know everything there is about the guitar. So if I don't like the way I play after that many years, then I'm a fucking idiot, right? I like Steve Vai a lot better. I like Eddie Van Halen a lot better. But I like who I am. And if I feel like I need to get better, Jeff, I just said your name. I said if you're watching, you would remember all this. As a guitar player, I'm confident and I like what I do. If I want to do something different, I learn how to do it. And there's nothing that I cannot play. That's what I choose not to play. Jeff, let me fill Jeff in real quick, guys. Jeff, I was telling everybody the story is about something that happened this weekend, but I had to take it all the way back to me becoming a singer, having to do it in front of everybody live. I went from nothing to a singer, and how no one believed in me. Everyone believed in me as a guitar player. Everyone believed in my band Some Odd Reason. But when I made the choice to do a singer, everyone told me I was crazy, including you, I believe. It was just something that. So my point to that is that even though we're 12 years later, or 27 years later, and I know that I can sing, I go through moments on stage where it's still a roller coaster. When I get the guitar in my hand, I'm as good as I am from the first note to the last note, and it's consistent. Vocally, to this day, I still lose my own faith halfway during the show sometimes, and I'm very aware that there are moments, sometimes in and out of songs, and it happens at Stage It a lot, on my live stream on Stage It. There are moments where I hear my voice. I'm not saying it's bad, but I hear my voice, and I'm not overly excited. And then all of a sudden, another voice just fucking comes out of me. And all of a sudden, I'm having an out-of-body experience, and I'm like, man, who's singing that? That shit sounds great, and I get really happy. And those of you guys that watch my stages might be able to start to learn to read my body language when that happens. But it's something that happens all the time, and sometimes it can happen mid-song. And so last Thursday, or here's my point to all this, and this is the this is this is crazy, but that doesn't make it's weird. That's all. So last Thursday, me and Chuck were playing a gig at Heritage, or the Thursday before it. And when the gig was over, or when the first set was over, I took Chuck aside. I said, Chuck, you've been with me from the beginning. Do you ever hear those moments where I sound like one guy, and then just in a second I sound like someone else, and it's a whole different voice, and I'm singing better, and I even made the joke. I said sometimes all of a sudden I sound like I'm singing like an angel, and then I go back to regular me. And in particular, it happens in pink houses, when I do pink houses. Chuck goes, yeah, I know. He goes, I hear it all the time. And Chuck's never going to lie to you. Chuck's never going to care about anything, if you know Chuck. He's just my brother, and he tells me exactly how the fuck it is at all costs. And he's like, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I hear it all the time. So, moving forward, I'm in Worcester. I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not saying I believe this yet. And you guys all know my take on Jesus. Anyway, so my friend that's a light worker and a healer, and her friend who I've never met, come to Worcester, whatever. What's up, Clay? How you doing? And after the show, they leave before the show's over. And the friend that I do know, not the one I've never met, that's now my friend after yesterday, says at some point, I need you to talk to my friend about what she experienced. And this woman experiences beings, multidimensional beings, on different levels. Perhaps you would say spirits or ghosts, or this is her work. This is what she does. This is what she takes very, very seriously. And so I went to meet with them, and the woman describes that change in my voice. Never seen me before in my life. Not, as far as I know, not an artist or, a musical, not a singer herself. Explains it, though. This is fucking weird to say. I'm telling you what someone else said, so just so you know. But explains the change in my voice. And wanted me to know that those moments when my voice was changing, or when some very, very positive energy, spiritual, religious, and powerful beings surround me. Candace Army, everybody. Oh, Candace, you rule. You rule so much. And so it hits me like a ton of bricks, because there is a change in my voice. There's a change in everything that happens to me that I'm so aware of. And this woman that's never seen me in the world tells me about the change in the voice. You understand, whether it's true or not, to hear someone say something like that about you after seeing you do this once in their life, is, especially with everything that I'm going through, that I share with you guys publicly now every week. That's what this conversation is about. A lot of times you guys are all my therapist, I guess. This woman explains to me yesterday about the different levels of beings. And remember the other week where I kind of broke down and started to understand what I'm going through in the non-human entity experiences I've had my entire life. and it almost became religious. And as much as I fought religion and Jesus and God and all that my whole life, for a brief second, it all made sense to me. And you guys were here to watch that. So then to bring this into a next level, I'm not looking for this. I'm not looking for this, and it's happening. It's coming to me. So becomes very, very powerful. So I start asking some questions about all of this light worker and this incredibly cool two women. And I asked not the light worker, but the woman that I didn't know till yesterday, what does she see the grays? Does she know what the grays are, or is this all angels? Oh yeah, I see the grays. And she explains to me the different levels of intergalactic consciousness and where the people fall, and gives me her version of a pretty clear version of where all this lies and who things are and what they are, and that it's all the same. It's all the same, including Jesus. Jesus is part of this. His existence is still present to many people in different realms, and he's everywhere, I guess. If you believe this, you understand. I've searched my whole life for this, and it's going to take a lot more than a couple strangers becoming friends to convince me that Jesus and his army helped me sing better. But it's what I've been told right now. So we start talking about joy and what makes you sing and what makes you... And I'm reminded that my first encounters and experiences happen... If you guys remember, my mom wanted me to play guitar. I wanted nothing to do with it, if you remember me telling the story. And then one day I decided I wanted to do that. I saw Kiss on TV, but was this divine intervention? Because I never saw a lot of other Kiss commercials. It was only that one year that they ran commercials for that concert. I never saw another commercial for Kiss. It was a local commercial that I saw for them playing the Capitol Center for the Dynasty era tour, 1978 or whatever. So I didn't want to play guitar. I wanted nothing to do with it. And then I walked by the TV and I saw this, and from that very moment, that second on, this has been my life. Until Shining Soul, there was nothing but guitar. Nothing. 36 viewers, you guys. If I got anyone new in here, please subscribe. Even if you never come back, hit the like button. I got to keep saying that. I watch these other YouTubers. It makes me crazy, and now I just do it. But that's how we grow. So there we are at 1978. I always say I started playing guitar at 5 years old. I found that I say 5 years old about a lot of things, and most of the things I was discussing yesterday happened more like 6, 7, and 8. So, but the point is, from that moment that I grabbed that guitar, it was, I have to do this. And anyone in high school or anyone in school remembers, anyone knows, everyone will always tell you he had more drive than anyone, he was going to make it, and everyone did. Steve Vai did, David Lee Roth did. So that's common, right? But there's not a lot of people back then that started as early as I did. And I always say, 6 years old, I didn't know anything about chicks, drugs, or money. And that's usually what drives people to pick up an instrument and get a music instrument. I had none of that was ever part of it to me, never once. And but I knew from day one that I wanted to change the world. I knew that I wanted to do it with my guitar, and I knew that I wanted to make people happy. And I was having this experience with the guitar in my hand at the same exact time that I was having the other experiences, and never put two and two together that one was happening because of the other. But in those other experiences, I was always sent the message that I was part of an army and I was going to change the world. And there's been a lot of times in my life where I thought I was supposed to do something bigger than I'm doing, and I fell off track, or I took the easy way out with the music. So yesterday, having this talk with these two, I think it secured the deal that, and let me change this or explain this. Try to explain this deep. And I can hear my voice, and I'm not even close to making the point as big as it is inside my heart, myself. But I asked a woman, does she know and communicate with grays? Yes. And I said, can you do that at will? And I said, are you able to get them? Are you able to ask them what is here? I met you for a reason. Did I meet you because you're supposed to fill me in? What am I supposed to be fucking doing? Why are they here? And she instantly says they're right here. They're right here. And they have your back. They're part of your team. And you part of your mission is to make people happy and change the world, which I've always thought. But this isn't like God syndrome, because there's millions of us. And so it is a battle between dark and light. It's a battle, whether it's religious or it's the way I perceive it, more scientific. It's a battle for everything's a battle for positive versus negative. It's the basis of everything we do, whether we plug a light socket in or whatever. And it's a war. It's a war. And I'm going to try to put this all together. I got 20 minutes to make this make sense to you guys. So negative energy is the problem. Negativity and negative energy is the problem. And whether I'm good or bad at what I do have a gift when I sing and play of making people happy. Everyone does, but some people in a different way. But I know from the people that have reached out to me that even though I'm not some superstar like Elton John, I know that I've touched tons of people. But in my brain, I'm going, well, that's not really changing the world. I have 30 people watching me right now. 30 people. I have 10,000 Facebook friends, and I think I'm almost at 4,000 Instagram fans, and if I play live at the right time of year without Brett, 500 people show up. So it never feels to me like I'm doing a big enough job. So this woman yesterday's talking to me, and you guys know that right now my struggle is trying to understand that whole concept that all time exists at once, and that all of our lives and all of our lifetimes and all of our, however you want to see it, the reincarnations, the break off of the timeline every time you make a decision, the different realities, and the fact that there's a million me's and there's a million you's and there's a million of each of us. So when you put it that way, and you put it on the fact that all time happens at once and every moment has happened together, she explained that in that aspect, when I create sound that creates joy for others, I'm touching billions of people at one time. Not just what I'm thinking is happening in this one reality that I'm perceiving at the second. And that opened up, that every day of my life right now is a metamorphosis. Every day is growing and changing. And I don't ask anyone to be on my path. I don't ask anyone to I'm not an evangelist. I'm not a come follow the UFOs. But more and more, I know my message is to bring joy. And how do I do that? And I'm learning to do that. And maybe you guys will keep coming back to I say the right words. But I do know more than ever, as of yesterday, that this is a fight against darkness. It's not Donald Trump. It's not Obama. It's not any of that. It's much, much bigger. I'm never, I'll never, ever, there's nothing you can do. If you tell me Jesus is in this room with me right now, I'm not fighting Jesus' fight. I'm not ready to do that yet myself. So, but if he is real, was real, I am on his side for the light. I am on the light, and I'm bringing the light, which sucks because I also discussed yesterday that they asked me a lot of questions to try to understand where I am and who I am, and they asked if I was empathic, and the being empathic thing cracks me up these days because a lot of people. You just don't know anymore. A lot of people think they're an empath. I think it's easy to read a room. So, yeah, you can walk in the room and you can feel if someone's happy or sad. But as we started talking about what it meant to be an empath, there's one thing about me that some of you closest to me know, and some of you may have never seen this. I consider it super dark, but it turns out it's an empathic quality. When I do walk in a room and I do feel energy, if that energy is negative, I fall apart. And not only do I fall apart, but I've always called myself a mental vampire or psychological vampire because I soak it up. You know that moment in The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi where Luke says to Rey, "You went right to the dark." That happens to me a lot. When I walk in a room and someone's in a bad mood, my guts feel like they're about to spill. Everything is awful when that happens. And then I get mad. If you've ever seen me walk out of a room because I can't have it, if everyone in the room is not in a good mood, I get angry. It's not my problem. I take it personally, though. Even if I walk in a room full of strangers, I soak that energy up if they're in bad moods, and I feel like it's my fault. And perhaps that's because it's my job to bring joy, and it's all subconscious and shit that I don't fucking know. But I get mad and I get violent, and I'll yell, and I'll be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" And to strangers sometimes. And yesterday was eye-opening to the fact that why I do that and that I feed on that negative energy. But the weird thing is, I don't walk into a room and feel joy. And maybe that's because this is weird. Everything has temperature, whether you feel it or not. And maybe if I am a spirit or a soul of joy, it's like walking into a lukewarm pool where you don't feel like your body temperature changes. Maybe I don't feel the joy because I am part of the joy. So my temperature doesn't change. My temperature changes when the water's cold. I just came up with that right in front of you guys. That's probably the best explanation for what I'm trying to say is the water's cold. when the negative energy is there, and my body reacts in a very negative. It's a physical sensation to a mental situation that happens to me, and I turn it into something really crazy. So that was yesterday, and that's nuts. But meeting, hello from Idaho, but after meeting Whitley in person, after finding the path to meet Whitley that I'm on, this is a rapid changing thing happening to me that I think all of you guys are involved. You tune in every week because you're interested. You know that I'm going to talk about this. And so I'm not a teacher, I'm not a preacher, I don't want to be any of that. But I do want to tell my friends that let's fight this battle and everybody try to be a little more joyous. What brings you joy? That's what the woman said to me yesterday. What brings you joy? Singing and playing music brings me joy. But the joy is that I make other people happy. That's joy. The music business brings me misery, pain. This is something that I'm going to leave a little bit of the story out. Because some of this is Tina's story, not mine. Well, or both of our story from about 10 years ago. But you guys know Boba, and you guys know that it's her dog, it's her service dog, but it's also my dog. That's my dog. I've never been one that holds on to anything. Quit your life is the greatest thing in the world, Sean. It's the greatest thing in the world. I don't know how much of this story to tell, but it has to do with the joy. Without being ridiculous, some of the strangest, greatest joy I get in my life is from Boba. Very similar joy to the joy I get with my children. And and that's probably because there's a good chance that I don't know if I'm ready for this one yet. The dog brings me a lot of joy. Souls and spirits come in different things. And maybe Boba was supposed to be something else in my life. Maybe Boba was supposed to be a human that didn't make it into the world. But my point to that is I don't get connected to animals like that. I'm an animal lover, but I didn't have a lot of pets growing up, and this is fucking awful for me to say, but a lot of you guys know me know I'm not always affected by death. I'm not affected by people cutting me out of their life or me cutting them out of their life. Some of the people that you would think were the closest to me in my entire life, that were loving, lasting relationships, when it's over, it's over. Cut and dry, and I don't look back. I don't think about it. I don't look back at it negatively, but I don't look, example, I hate to bring it up, but when me and my wife got divorced, everyone knows I didn't believe in divorce, and I didn't want a divorce for my children. But when that relationship sailed, it was instant. And I never thought romantically again, I never thought that part was over in a second. I'm what I'm saying is, in my entire life, I'm always prepared to say goodbye. And the fear of saying goodbye to that fucking dog is like nothing I've ever experienced in my fucking life, other than the fear of saying goodbye to my children. And so this woman's asking me about what brings you joy yesterday. I'm trying to talk about the most powerful and spiritual things I can do, and the only thing I can get out of my mouth is the dog. Why does that hit home, Sean? Can you tell me why that is? Beth Ann, I'm not saying I was hurt. That's the thing. I don't talk about that a lot because I don't know that I was hurt. I did the hurting too. I'm fucking miserable to deal with, man. I am incredibly selfish, focused person, and I've always, like, anytime anyone joins my band, I've always said, this is my train, and you're welcome to ride it as long as you can, but it's my train, and when you get off, we had a good time. Everybody's been through a lot of pain, but I don't know what I just said to make you think that I was hurt so bad. I don't remember saying anything. If I did, and there is pain. I'm not saying there's not pain, but I certainly cause it. I certainly make a lot of fucking people mad. Yeah, you get it, Sean. Still one of the most amazing. I think about it every day with you and your life. There's not a moment that crosses my mind that doesn't. If you don't mind, I'll just say, if you guys know Sean, I told you Sean's a childhood friend, and he was a pastor. He's the pastor that married me. And he had the perfect life and the perfect wife, and one day it was over. And him telling me that it was over was hit me like I was him. which goes back to the thing. Sean's one of those guys that maybe I shouldn't know, and I'm connected, and we don't talk for years. And when we see each other, there's special energy. He might have been one of the first people I met on this path. God knows he spent a lot of time listening to my journey. And maybe it wasn't just because you played guitar. Maybe you were one of the biggest teachers I've ever had in my life, and maybe we're brothers. Maybe we were something in another life. I don't know, but I think about your divorce every day. And I remember looking in your eyes. I remember you telling me what happened. I remember talking to you on the phone, but then I remember seeing you in person next. And a lot of times you can tell someone's hiding something or being tough. And it was gone. And it was in your eyes. There was no fucking, that was as real as it could be. And whatever put love back in your life in such an interesting, fascinating way, it makes me think sometimes my buddy Sean ended up rekindling with his actual high school love, like a fucking fairy tale, like a Hallmark movie. And it's so fucking real and powerful that I've only seen the two of them together once, and the energy surrounding it's fucking ridiculous. I hope you guys get to meet Sean one day. He's powerful dude. Where did Jeff? Jeff said happy people bring you joy. Is that true, Jeff? You're an interesting cat, man. You're an interesting cat, and we've known each other a long time, but there's a much sweeter side of you than the Pantera-loving, tattooed metal guy that I think's a grumpy old man. I don't know what else much to say. I do want to. My friend Candace is she's super cool, and she seems like she helps. Like, she has a lot of friends on here tonight. Probably had no idea what they were going to tune into and listen to, and since the day I met her, she's been a very strong part of my army. She's awesome, and she had a daughter on my birthday, so that's strange. and fascinating. All the things tie together. Jim and I went to high school together and reconnected after we were both. Oh yeah, that's right, Jessica, and I married you too. All the, what is the word? Synchronicities to all this crazy stuff, right? You know, yeah. So that's it. Find joy. The point is find joy. This is my point. It's simple. Find joy. And because joy fights the light. It's like paper, scissors, rock in a spiritual fucking world. This is all coming to me while I talk to you guys. Joy extinguishes the darkness. But sometimes, we all have been through divorce. We've all been through bad relationships. Find the joy and find the partners that bring you the joy. Even, that doesn't mean, we went out to a winery, we get along so great, we go to parties and blah, 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 blah. That's not what the joy is. The joy is peace. The joy is safety and trust and peace. And you find that, and you light that fire, and you build a team, and you build a family, and you build friends, and it's like adding another log to that fire that fights the darkness. It's weird. It's also weird that I'm sitting here talking and I'm having an out-of-body experience because none of this sounds like it's coming out of my own mouth. And then I keep questioning that Bashar guy, if he's real or he's not real. And then all of a sudden I wonder, at these last few minutes of this, am I channeling something? Is someone else talking through me? And why the fuck is this? Because I'm a fucking rock and roll guitar player and I'm loud and all this stuff comes out every week. Find joy in the little things, and it magnifies. You get it, Joanne. Joanne, you've kind of always known that. And it's funny my connection with Joanne, because sometimes everybody I have a connection with. Joanne's a great friend. Sometimes we're opposites. Joanne likes to be public. It took me a long time. There you go. Darkness is not the opposite of light, the absence of light. Sean, teach, buddy. You're the pastor. You teach. But it takes all of us. The best bands are equals and more than just co-workers. Well, that's off topic of what we're talking about, Greg, but I will tell you that I've never met a band that are equals. That doesn't mean I'm wrong. Or that doesn't mean you're wrong. But I do believe that the equals is an illusion. There's always, it goes back to the thing I always say, everybody's 100% not the same. I've never in my life witnessed a band where someone doesn't think they're doing more, so they deserve more, whether it's attention or whether it's money or whatever it is. I think that what I would say, the best bands are brothers that love each other, not co-workers. Let me change your statement. The guys in Poison, they're brothers, and they don't get along. They don't hate each other, but they don't always get along. And a handful of them believe completely different things, so polarizing of lifestyles that it's amazing that they can stand on the stage together. Don't forget the like button. But when they do hit the stage, it all goes away, and they are brothers. I think for a brief time, the version of Van Halen with Sammy Hagar was like that. My whole life was based on believing that the Bon Jovi guys were brothers. Everything I wanted out of life was the Bon Jovi thing. You believed, whatever fairy tale I was sold, was that those guys would fight for each other till the end. Now, it turns out they will. But it is a corporation, and John is the boss, and they are all hired guns. But they chose that. They chose that. But what they are is brothers. I believe that Kiss were brothers. We all know now that from day one, two of them hated the other two. And we all know now that even Gene and Paul are polar fucking opposites. They're not equals. No one's equal. No one's 100% is the same. Nobody puts the same. 50-50 is an illusion. 50-50 is you know, in several of my relationships in my life, I hit the ground running. And I come out and I want to be the knight in shining armor. And I want to do everything I can. And then several times, the person I'm in a relationship with, I'm not talking about romantic relationships. This has happened with me and Chuck. It happened with me and Justin Raybuck. It happens with me and Brett. Tension and resentment builds when the other person's not giving what you think is the same. 50-50 is just impossible. And when you meet someone that is as powerful as John Bon Jovi, or is as powerful as Brett, or is alpha male like me, or anyone else, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You get four equals, and if you have equal power and equal energy, it's going to oppose, it's going to blow up, ego gets in the way. It really just doesn't work. Jessica asked me about Motley Crue's a terrible thing to fucking do. Nikki Sixx runs Motley Crue. It's his fucking band. There's no question to that. Vince Neil is not a lyric writer. He's not much of a songwriter. Vince, for all intent and purpose, is a hired gun and always has been. But that band doesn't exist without him. Poison does not exist without Brett. Bon Jovi managed to exist without Richie Sambora, but Richie still loves John. You watch those interviews, and even when they talk, and Richie gets real honest and tries to be a tough guy and kinds of throw digs at him, and the dig is because they're brothers, In Evick, Chuck's my brother to the end. And Ray, I don't ever want to play an Evick gig without Ray or Matt. But we're not equals in any way. And that's what makes it work. I don't want Ray to come to me with a song. Every once in a while I'll let Chuck have an idea in a song I already wrote. Matt writes songs, they don't sound anything like Evick, so I write the songs. I write the set list. I decide what the logo is going to look like. And they're okay with that. They don't have to do that. So we're not equals, but we're brothers in a machine that works correctly, just like any relationship works. I didn't mean to get philosophical about your question, Greg, but that's how I feel about it. I don't feel like there's any such thing as equal. And at any given time, someone's giving more than other. I don't know if I've ever told this story before, but I will tell you this story because it has to do with this. When me and my wife were splitting up, and I was trying... Well, Jeff, at the Evick gigs, the yearly Evick gigs, I do write a set list since it's all original. Old days, my big thing was no set list, make it up as we go. When my marriage was breaking up, I was talking at length one night with Cece DeVille about this. And his parents stayed married. I believe one of the parents has passed away, but if not, they're still married. And Cece was really powerful with me that he said that the secret is that they have fallen out of love with each other several times over their life, but they never fell out of love at the same time. So that's powerful. As long as half of it was still running on full cylinders, the ship kept going. And I never forget that. It was so powerful to me that I asked Cece to call Kristen and tell her that. And he called her one night at Sully's. He called from his hotel room. I don't know where we were out in the world, and he called her at like 2:30 in the morning, and ended up talking to her for like an hour, trying to explain to her how love worked. But me and her did fall out of love at the same time. And when that happens, it's gone, But it was powerful. It's a powerful message. And that message is that it's not 50-50. It's never equal. That was Cece's message about his parents' marriage, and that's my message about rock and roll and bands. And there are times, even in the Bret Michaels band, there's times where Bret's like, let's throw in the towel. And there are times when I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. But those times come when Bret may feel a little distant, I'm rip roaring ready to go, and when I feel a little weak about it all, I'll talk to him on the phone next day, and he'll be so inspiringly ready to roll, take over the world. That's it. That's I said a lot this week. Please hit subscribe, hit like. Thank you for joining my conversation. I've decided this isn't a conversation anymore. This is a journey that I'm on, and you guys are watching. This is like it's almost like my own reality show. You guys are great. Thanks for watching the hotel room and the fan behind me blowing this thing. And find joy. Find joy in whatever that is. And thanks, Jeff Marshall. I don't know why, but it's always great when you're in. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks.